UFC Fight Night, Perth, Australia is live this Saturday, September 27th. I'm going to go through all the fights, giving you my predictions for each one, starting with the early prelim opener of Loma Lookboonmee versus Alexia Thainara. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this one. I'm going to go Alexia Thainara. Alexia Thainara is, let's pull up, hold on one second. Hold on. Alexia Thainara is currently like over a 2-1 favorite in this fight, which I do not agree with. I don't agree with that at all. I think this is a much closer fight than the odds would represent. What we're betting on here is Alexia Thainara. Again, Loma Lookboonmee has all the skills. She has fantastic striking. She has a little bit of a problem in the grappling department, which is again what Thainara does. We've only seen her against Molly McCann, but again, this is a 5-1 Loma Lookboonmee, 61.5 reach, 34-inch leg reach advantage or disadvantage. Thainara's out has almost 6 inches of reach on her, and even though Thainara does not have striking nearly on the level of Lookboonmee, I think that again we're gonna see her out physicality her. Even if her Lookboonmee's takedown defense has held up for the most part throughout most of her UFC experience, she's not bad by any means. She has great striking. She's ranked number 14 right now. She is a decent fighter. Um, I think what we saw is Thainara had an ability to bully, push around Molly McCann. I don't see Lookboonmee, even with her more skills than McCann, being able to stop the inevitable takedown. And I think she can be bullied, especially over a 3-round fight. I'm going to go with Thainara. I wouldn't bet this fight necessarily. I don't think the odds are great. Maybe you bet a Thainara submission here within the first 2 rounds. I think would be a decent enough bet to make. Um, Maybe Lookboonmee shows up with the teep, with the takedown defense that Thainara hasn't encountered, uses her experience to advantage, outpoints her like she tends to do to some more experienced women. It's possible. I just see a Thainara bulldozing her way over Lookboonmee. I spent way too much time on that fight. Moving on to a fight that I'm not going to spend any time on at all. Brando Pericic and Elisha Ellison. Heavyweight debut for both these men. Again, UFC can't even be bothered to mess around with their pictures here. It's so annoying. Can't even put up their stats. But I'm gonna go with the main consensus here, which is that Brandon Pericic, I think among most UFC fans, is going to probably get a KO TKO finish within round 1 or 2 over Elisha Ellison, just based off what we've seen out of both of them. Brandon Pericic is a pretty decent favorite against Ellison for good reason. Good reason there. Um, Again, we don't know anything about either of these guys, but new blood at heavyweight. Hopefully, we can get some more exciting fights there. Okay, Michelle Montague, Luana Carolina. I've gone back and forth, believe it or not, over a women's fight. I've gone back and forth over and over again on this one. Um, I think that again, what a lot of us fell into the trap last week with Alice Pereira coming in. She's finished almost everyone on the regional scene. She's coming in as a hot prospect. We're seeing that same thing here with Michelle Montague. And right now, betting wise, she is again almost a 2-1 favorite over Luana Carolina. And if you watch some of her, you know, fights regionally, she looks good. She looks skilled. She looks like she has the skills to do decent at women's bantamweight. And we know that we need more talent at women's bantamweight. But I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going to go with the experience of Luana Carolina. I'm not going to fall into the trap that we all did last week, eating the hype up of Alice Pereira. I'm going to go with Luana Carolina. I think that just using her experience, her octagon time, to eke out a 2-1 decision win over Michelle Montague. And I think that Michelle will probably have her moments, maybe in the first round. And then I think Luana Carolina will take over, clench work. We've seen her do decent work in her last couple of fights. If we go here, we've seen her win a unanimous decision over Pudialova, over Stolyarenko. These women who are coming into the UFC. Um, Again, I think we just go with the experience here, knowing when to clench, knowing when to slow the fight down, especially in a women's fight. Okay, moving on. I'm going to keep underdog hunting here. Colby Thicknesse is a slight underdog against Josias Musasa. Josias Musasa, um, again, he's coming off a loss to Vera, submission. Not a bad look at all by any means. Colby Thicknesse is coming off a loss to Topuria's brother, Alexandre Topuria. And he didn't look great. He didn't look great in that fight. But I think one thing to keep in mind is Thicknesse trains with Volkanovski. Colby Thicknesse, in all honesty, again, I don't want to rate him because of a loss to Topuria's brother. We have no clue how good Topuria's brother is. But he took a round off him. He took a round off him. He trains with Volkanovski. He's fighting at home. I'm going to go with Colby Thicknesse here as a slight underdog over Josias Musasa. Um, yeah, and I think he'll just be able to get it done. I think he'll just be able to get it done. Call it a feeling. Josias Musasa may go out there and just absolutely spark him out cold. But I think if you can survive against, again, this is Topuria's brother, but if he's anything like his older, younger Ilya, and you can look okay in a round against him, I just more to go off with Thicknesse here. His training partners as well. I'm going to go with Colby Thicknesse with another underdog here. Moving on. Jamie Mullarkey versus Rolando Bedoya. Pretty much a 50-50 fight here for the most part. Minus 117, slight edge to Mullarkey um, versus Bedoya. Uh, Jamie Mullarkey coming off a loss to Mauricio Huffy. Um, Also, he's beaten John Makdessi. Rolando Bedoya coming off a loss to Jai Herbert, Song Kanan, and Williams here. I'm going to go with Jamie Mullarkey. I would not bet this fight. In fact, I wouldn't bet this fight or the Thicknesse fight unless you're really looking for an underdog in one of them. Uh, but I'm going to go with Jamie Mullarkey to get it done for a couple of reasons. I'm going to go with Jamie Mullarkey because Rolando Bedoya is nothing but a blob with a chin and decent cardio. This guy sucks. Um, and maybe we'll see him get his first win against Mullarkey here. But I gotta go with Jamie Mullarkey because again, although who knows, we saw it last weekend. Blobs with cardio were winning over and over again. It for the UFC Noche. But I'm gonna go with Jamie Mullarkey here to get this done. We're probably not betting a finish here, boys. We are betting on a 2-1 decision here. But I think Jamie Mullarkey gets it done. Get Rolando Bedoya out of the UFC. I don't know why he's still signed. To be honest, he has, I don't think, a single win in all of the UFC. Maybe it's because he's from Peru and we don't really have any fighters from Peru, but he sucks. He sucks. Jamie Mullarkey, the jury's not out on if he sucks yet, but Bedoya sucks. Okay, so we got to go Jamie Mullarkey here as a pretty much even fight. Or moving on to Oban Elliott, Jonathan Micallef. All right. So I think that a lot of people here are going with Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott, I believe, is currently a slight favorite over Jonathan Micallef. Um, Oban Elliott really kind of the fighter of the people. He's remarkably average pretty much everywhere. Um, However, we just saw him get absolutely destroyed in his last fight by the Korean fighter Ko. And again, how long are we going to keep giving him credit for a win over Preston Parsons and a win over Basil Hafez? Again, he looked. Everyone goes, "Oh, Oban Elliott, he looked great against Basil Hafez." Basil Hafez. Basil Hafez was definitely on steroids before the UFC, and has just melted physique-wise. He barely. Basil Hafez, since joining the UFC, has had a hard time beating Mickey Gall. He barely beat Mickey Gall. He looks great in his debut against JDM and has just looked horrible. So how well is that win really aging? Whereas Jonathan Micallef, just we only have one fight to go off, beats Kevin Jusay. Kevin Jusay is not great either. Beats him by decision. But Oban Elliott is one of those guys where you're watching him fight and you think, if he starts getting pieced up on the feet, he can go to the grappling. He can go to the grappling against most guys. He can go to the grappling. And we saw last fight, if you grab an underhook, you grab even one underhook, and you spin off him. If you're getting absolutely just double underhooked, over under foot swept over and over again by a guy making his UFC debut, I just don't think you have what we all thought you did. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Micallef here. Uh, Again, I'm going to go with another underdog. This card is freaking awful, man. But hey, there's some opportunities to snipe some bets here if you're a betting guy. I think we're going to go with Jonathan Micallef, and I think maybe he gets a submission TKO win here. I don't think we're looking at a knockout from either of these guys. But Jonathan Micallef, I want to see what he's able to do in the UFC, and I don't see any more potential in Oban Elliott. Maybe he turns it all around here, but I'm gonna go Jonathan Micallef over Oban Elliott. Moving on to Cameron Rowston versus Andre Petroski. Cameron Rowston, another one that I have some mixed feelings on. We watched Cameron Rowston, and if we pull it up here, hold on, let me pull it. We watched Cameron Rowston get a decent win to get back, get another shot at the UFC. He's gone on this run. After back in 2024, he lost a unanimous decision to Torres Finney, and he was just blobbed on, or not it. The right word is not blobbed on, but he was just out grappled. He was smothered by Torres Finney, and I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these odds here, where I believe Andre Petroski is a almost 2-1 favorite over Cameron Rowston. And a lot of people will make the argument, okay, Andre Petroski, he's only he lost to Shabazian. He beat Budka. He's beat Josh Fremd. He lost to Malkoon in his very famous um, KOing himself on the hip. And so a lot of people are foreseeing Andre Petroski being able to hold Cameron Rowston up against the cage, get the takedown, probably win to probably win 2-1 in a decision here. But what I'm seeing here is Andre Petroski's chinny. Andre Petroski is chinny, and he has a little bit of a gas tank issue. You've seen shades of it in some of his fights. He's got a decent fight IQ, right? He'll shoot the takedown. He'll clench up if he starts getting hurt. But Cameron Rowston's shown consistent improvement, and I gotta tend to think that Cameron Rowston has worked on his takedown defense since Torres Finney. And if we just pull up a picture of Torres Finney here, there is a difference between this man holding you against the cage, being able to squeeze your hips together, being able to force a double leg against the cage, and Andre Petroski. I just frame wise, muscle distribution wise, if you go back and you watch that fight, I'm going to go with Cameron Rowston. I think he catches Andre Petroski here. I'm going to lock another underdog here and say Cameron Rowston catches Andre Petroski on the chin, puts him down, and I want to say maybe like a round 2. And we're probably going to see Petroski be able to find a takedown or a smother you against the cage in round one. But I have faith in my boy Cameron Rowston to be able to find the chin of Petroski, or at least find his leverage, find his advantage on the feet throughout the fight. Moving on to the prelim headliner of Navajo Stirling versus Rodolfo Bellato. Navajo Stirling, he is my lock of the night. Navajo Stirling is putting Rodolfo Bellato to sleep. Rodolfo Bellato is not bad, but we have to believe that after Rodolfo Bellato's acting against Paul Craig, that Navajo Stirling's gonna chin him, kill him. As a fan, you have to be a fan of Navajo Stirling. You have to be a fan of his work. He's a little bit of a slow starter. So, inside MMA, maybe, he starts off slow. We're all starting to believe in Rodolfo. The odds close a little bit because I believe right now, um, Rodolfo Bellato, it's a minus 240 favorite, Navajo Stirling. So he wouldn't be a bad bet going into round two. Because Navajo Stirling Sterling does start very slow. He starts slow. And it is one of the problems that I foresee in maybe a potential 3-rounder against a better opponent. But I do believe that Navajo Stirling, and as a fan, I'm rooting for Navajo Stirling to put Bellato out. Because Bellato did not even look that great on the feet against Paul frickin' Craig. And if Paul Craig can make you look vulnerable on the feet, and then come on, man. If you watch that fight, you know. Navajo Stirling's putting this guy out cold. Out cold. End of round one, middle of round two. Moving on. The main card opener of Tom Nolan and Charlie Campbell. I'm going Tom Nolan. I think most of the MMA community is going with Tom Nolan. I think that Tom Nolan maybe even puts him out on the feet. I believe in Tom Nolan here. Uh, Charlie Campbell. Charlie Campbell's last win is Trevor Peak over a year ago. Um, it's a close fight. The odds are somewhat close. Um, I'm going Tom Nolan. I'm going Tom Nolan to win at home. Find the chin of Campbell. Um, and put him. And that's not to say Campbell has no skills at all. I just think that he's going to struggle against the hands of Tom Nolan. All right. Moving on. Let's go ahead and move on to the next fight up on the card. Oh God. Justin Tafa versus Louie Sutherland. And I think everyone's reaction here at this point is to fade and either of the Tafa brothers anytime that they show up. These absolute blobs who should not be heavyweight with horrible records that are for some reason still signed to the organization. He is 7-5 heavyweight. Lot Everyone's reaction at this point is to fade Justin Tafa. And I think I'm going to go with Louie Sutherland because we have to believe if we want if we want heavyweight to be a division that it spans, that grows, we need to get these guys like Tafa out of the UFC. How do you look like that and you're considered a professional athlete? But there's something that I want to pull up for everyone real quick. I wanted to take the time to pull up this image side by side of Louie Sutherland before and after signing to the UFC. We, I mean, I think a picture speaks 1,000 words here. Louis Sutherland is not exactly not a blob himself when he's not on the secret juice here. I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking that that is what he looks like going into his UFC debut. He, in the words of Chael Sonnen, look at this. More juice than a Tropicana. But, but, if you go on YouTube and you look up the name Louis Sutherland, and there's like one video, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you look it up. I don't want to get copyright strike, but it's like got this obnoxious, incredibly loud Chinese song over Louis Sutherland regional scene highlights. He is not great, but there's a sense of urgency when he fights. There's some sense of finishing instinct. There's an ability to actually be top heavy because we know that the Tafa brothers cannot handle being on the ground. They just can't. There's zero grappling. I don't know if these guys have never been in a jiu-jitsu gym, have never been in a wrestling gym. Um, Go watch any grappling sequence. There's zero survival instinct, zero ability to try and get back up, besides just trying to sit back up. And again, when you're built like that, and you don't have any, you know, you don't have Derek Lewis strength, you're not getting back up with no technique. So I am going to go Louis Sutherland here. But again, some red flags. I wouldn't bet this fight. Louis Sutherland's physique has melted over time. He does have a good technique. He's not quite as much of a Tafa brother where he's literally go watch a Justin Tafa fight. He's literally charging in and almost like a video game character charging up his right hand to try and chin you with it. Um, so bar, that I would say Louis Sutherland also, if you watch his highlights, I'm worried about his gas tank, like any heavyweight if he gets out of the first round. But this is Justin Tafa. Justin Tafa doesn't have a gas tank either. Why is this guy in the UFC? Please, 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 please. Let just Louis Sutherland. I don't care if it's a boring decision. I hope he knocks out Tafa. Get the Tafa brothers out of the UFC heavyweight division. I know heavyweights a lot of times are just blobs with a right hand or left hook. Get the Tafa brothers out of there. Let's make some room for some other guys. Okay? So I'm going to go Louis Sutherland on this one. Not confidently, but I'm going to go Louis Sutherland. Moving on. Jake Matthews, Neil Magny. I'm going to go Jake Matthews. I think Jake Matthews' time. Neil Magny has never been and probably never will be a bad underdog to take. But I just think that we are finally seeing the era of Neil Magny fading. He is coming off a win. Who is he coming off a win to? Dos Santos. He lost, got absolutely destroyed by Carlos Prates, destroyed by Moraes. He beat Mike Malott, but I don't think Mike Malott is good. I think that we're just seeing the end of Neil Magny as a solid kind of benchmark litmus test for the division, right? Oh, you beat Neil Magny. That's a solid win. I think we're seeing the end of that, and I think that Jake Matthews is only on the rise. I think Jake Matthews wins this fight pretty convincingly against Neil Magny here. I gotta go with Jake Matthews here. All right. Moving on. Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Tavares. Both guys coming off a loss in their last fight. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate because I'm picking a favorite again. You got to go Jack Jenkins here, though, man. You got to go Jack Jenkins here. Ramon Tavares is coming off a loss to Davy Grant. He beat Surrey City, who is awful. Jack Jenkins is coming off a loss to Santos. He beat Herbert Burns, who again is awful. Lost to Chet Mariscal. But if you go back and you watch both their respective fights, right? I'm gonna go Jack Jenkins. He's got the um, He's got a little bit of a frame advantage here. Ramon Tavares is not going to mix in the grappling, which is what we saw Jenkins struggle with in his last fight against Santos. We saw him struggle with sort of the ability to mix together striking and grappling. Ramon Tavares is not that guy. Um, and I think that Jack Jenkins is going to eat Ramon Tavares' lunch on the feet over 3 rounds. It's probably not going to be a super exciting fight. But I think Jack Jenkins is going to just out volume, out skill Ramon to a pretty convincing decision here. Moving on to the co-main event, what is now the co-main event apparently. Jimmy Crute and Yvonne Urslan. What are we doing? Jimmy Crute is a co-main event even for a fight night. Thank uh, thank God this is the last event we get to watch of just shit. Just journeyman shit. Debut shit. And then we'll get 7 straight weeks of banger cards. All right, we gotta do better. We gotta do better. If you look it up, this is why Perth, the UFC Perth tickets are struggling, cause the fights suck. Except the main, they suck. They're awful. This is your co-main event. Jimmy Crute, Yvonne Urslan. Going Jimmy Crute. Yvonne Urslan has a functional disability to handle grappling. And we say, oh, well, Yvonne Urslan's got hands. He's got knockout power. Does he? Does he? We watched him get just. And again, this is a split decision, but I think it was pretty convincingly Elon Kutulaba's fight. Stirling Urslan? I mean, Navajo Stirling, who is fighting lower down the card, beat Urslan. Jimmy Crute coming off a win over Marcin Prachnau, which credit where credit's due. Marcin Prachnau's a decent notch in your belt. Loss to Manyfield does not look good. Does not look good. And that's why a lot of people were fading him. We're like, this is the end of Jimmy Crute. Draw to Bellato, who's fighting down the card. But I think Jimmy Crute has exactly what it takes to beat Yvonne Urslan. And what I mean by that is he can grapple. He can control the fight. I'm going to go with Jimmy Crute here to submit Yvonne Urslan. I think that he gets the submission win here. Probably like a late round 2 submission over Yvonne. Maybe even a round 1, but I'm going to go late round 2 submission win over Yvonne Urslan. I think he pretty easily takes Yvonne down here and out grapples him and just out skills him on the ground. I don't have much more to say than this, other than we just need to do better. This being a co-main event is frustrating. And I believe before, and maybe I'm wrong, the other option, or maybe maybe they have it out of order here, or what people were joking about on Twitter or X, is that Justin Tafa against a guy making his debut was the co-main before. Why? Serious question to Australians. Why do you like Justin Tafa? Why do we like Justin Tafa? Moving on. Main event time. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one. It is the last fight. I think I speak for most MMA fans when I say we are rooting for Dominic Reyes this weekend. We ride for Dominic Reyes this weekend. We love Dominic Reyes. But I got to go with Carlos or Ulberg here. Dominic Reyes, in his losses, when he is caught on the chin, he's caught by a 1 and a 3 most often. And those are Carlos Ulberg's best punches. A lot of people have also been circulating the video of when Ulberg kind of is tired and he lost to Kennedy Nizuchukwu and got knocked out by Kennedy Nizuchukwu, I believe, in his debut, and kind of pointing that out and saying, well, Dominic Reyes can do that. This is true, but I think if we look at what the evolution of Carlos Ulberg, he's gotten a lot better at dealing with the blitzes. He's gotten a lot better about dealing with the blitzes and managing strikes, not gassing himself out, being able to go. He has that experience now, gas tank management experience now, which I think will do a lot for him in this fight. Dominic Reyes has the ability to make this fight a dirty fight. He can blitz in there and he can catch Ulberg. We have seen Ulberg hit by previous opponents. We have seen Ulberg sort of have to slow things down. Um, but I just I think that Ulberg is going to and Ulberg has the ability here, I think, to make it a boring fight. And it's going to be on Dominic Reyes to make this a dirty, grimy fight and really try and gas Ulberg to the point where his hands are lower. He's not moving quite as well as he does in round 1 and 2 on the outside. And I do believe that running this as a 5-round fight helps or assists Reyes here. Reyes, I think it benefits Reyes that this is a 5-round fight, but I just don't see it. I don't see it. I'm rooting for Dominic Reyes. And we've all been very happy to see him come back against Jacoby, come back Anthony Smith, and beat Nikita Krylov. But these guys, all due respect, Jacoby Smith, Reyes, or Jacoby Smith and Krylov, they are not Carlos Ulberg. Carlos Ulberg is a legitimate fighter, a legitimate. Uh, he's got the CKB team behind him, and I do think that he will be able to stuff any attempts that Dom Reyes has at making this grappling match. And so I really think Dominic has the power advantage, but he also is chinny. So, again, I think if Ulberg catches Reyes clean, Reyes is, we've seen him. He gets hurt. He gets hurt. Um, and I think Ulberg has a great ability, maybe not power-wise, but an ability to find the chin and to find the chin consistently and to slow Reyes down with leg kicks and to slow the fight down, keep him on the end of his jab. If this goes past round 3, we'll probably see Ulberg up maybe 2-1, 3-0. But I do think that then you kind of go, okay, well, how beat up is Reyes at this point in the fight? Can I live bet Reyes to go and finish Ulberg in round 4 and round 5? That's a solid strategy. But I got to go with overall, you got to go with Ulberg finding the finish here. Finding the finish probably within 3, in my opinion. Just being able to consistently add up damage on Reyes' chin. Side note, Reyes is looking, at least leading up to the fight, a little soft-bodied. He's always a little bit of soft-bodied, but little out of shape almost. If you've been looking at if you're an avid MMA Twitter guy, he looks a little off. Um, but I'm gonna go with Ulberg here. So yeah, I will be freaking out if Reyes somehow finds the finish on Ulberg. I will be very happy. I'll take the Twitter. But as a in terms of predictions, I'm going to go with Carlos Ulberg here. I just think he will be able to, maybe not even in an inciting way, but be able to win a 3-2, 4-1 decision with leg kicks. But I really do believe that Ulberg, we're going to watch him find the chin of Reyes. Reyes is hittable. Ulberg is hittable, but Reyes is hittable, and he's chinny. And Ulberg's best punches are the ones that have knocked out Reyes before. So that'll wrap it up for my UFC Perth predictions. What a shit card, guys. But don't worry, guys. Um, Starting next week, we just get banger after banger after banger, stacked card, stacked fight nights. So bear with this one. We have like 3 or 4 people making their UFC debut. Um, more than that if you count the two guys that are making their debut against each other. UFC, why do we do that? Why do we try and kill two prospects at the same time? I don't understand. We have Jimmy Crute, Yvonne Herslan is the co-main apparently. Um, but hopefully you guys can make some money off this. Hopefully you guys can. Hopefully we get some surprise finishes because sometimes that's what happens when you face when you get a lot of these 50-50 fights. We have some solid underdogs on the fight card. Good luck, guys.